Hello, everyone. I'm Mandi Rae with OPA, the Organization for Professional Astrology, and I'm here with Magali Morales. It's very
So
nice to
nice
have
to
you.
so nice to be here with you, Mandi Rae.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am an evolutionary astrologer. I've been doing this work for like 20 years. I've had a practice. Have the honor of serving as the OPA's vice president at the moment. And I am faculty with OPA. I'm one of the teachers of consulting skills there. And I'm so excited about this topic that I'll be presenting at our retreat.
I'm so excited as well. In fact, it's called the Trauma Healing Map, and this is just one part of something you're doing at our 2024 retreat. But today we're going to go over just the one part so that we can offer people a little information about it. So, the Trauma Healing Map, you use it very often, I'm sure, in your own practice.
Yes, I do. Before I was an astrologer, I was a trauma healing specialist in psychotherapy. And what I have to offer people is a very, very simple four-step process. And the reason it's relevant is because many people who come to see you for astrology in your practice are probably touched by loss or violence or have had, some significant negative experiences in their life. And this is a way for the astrologer to feel more confident and more competent supporting their clients who have these characteristics. And, unfortunately, violence is a very common thing in our world. So I think we encounter this more and more. And I want astrologers to first do no harm, but also be as helpful as possible.
I mean, I know I've had my own share of situations with clients, so I'm very excited to see what this is about. So yeah.
Sure, let's go for it. Excellent. So this is called the Trauma Healing Map. It is based on some of the work of the foremost trauma experts that trained me at the Trauma Healing Project 20 years ago when we founded that small nonprofit. And this is a simple model for understanding and healing trauma. And first, I just want to do a quick definition. Trauma is not one thing, it's a result of two things: your capacity to cope with hardship and the loss and violence you experience. So, trauma is actually an event or a series of events that are terrifying, life-threatening, sudden, unexpected, overwhelming, with which your internal and external resources cannot cope. So you can hear all the kind of Plutonian, Saturnian, Uranian, concepts in there, right? And so it's a combination between how strong you are on the inside and on the outside, how much you're able to cope with, and then what happens to you. And so it's when we are overwhelmed by it that post-traumatic stress actually kicks in. And the method is really very simple. We use the acronym SELF. This is something that was developed by Sandra Bloom in her Sanctuary model, and she gave us permission to use it at the Trauma Healing Project. And it consists of four things. When somebody experiences trauma, the first thing they feel is fear and anxiety. And so the first step is reestablishing safety. And sometimes you can't really find safety. If you are in a situation where the danger hasn't ended, you can't really find safety, but you can find connection. And so the astrologer can serve as the source of that sense of connection and empathy and understanding for a person who is feeling scared. So in the course, we will do exercises and interactive activities to really explore what is it like to reestablish safety for another person. The second step is managing overwhelming emotions. Many of you, the word trauma has become more common. A lot of people know what it means to be triggered, right? Like when trauma is triggered, it means that we have awakened a traumatic memory and our nervous system is on overdrive. And we often experience overwhelming emotions, overwhelming sadness, anger, fear, even numbness. And so, what is it like to help somebody move through those emotions and learn to express them without hurting themselves or others in order to feel safer and like there is, to reduce the overwhelm, to feel like they have a handle on it? That is something else that we'll go through in the retreat. The third and most important ingredient of really healing trauma is grieving, grieving our losses, right? We've all lost something. When you think about somebody who was abused as a child, they lost part of their childhood. They lost their innocence. They lost the opportunity to live life with a sense of hope, right? So when we are working on healing trauma, there is a need for some grieving work and just this sense of surrender, to move through all those difficult emotions and get to a place of surrender and acceptance, but not to get there prematurely. This is not minimizing what the person is feeling. It's really to kind of take them by the hand and guide them through some of that. And then the fourth step, which is really important, is the end result is a reclaiming of our sense of future. Because if you talk to somebody who's been traumatized, usually what they'll say is they don't feel a sense of future. They've lost their connection to the future or even their faith that there will be a future. And so as they move through the first three steps of this process, then the sense of future kind of begins to emerge again. And people start to, find something to look forward to next week or next month. And even those little indications are a sure sign that they are on the path of healing. So often when our clients come to see us, they want us to look into the future, right? Even if we don't make, cheap predictions, we make forecasts. We talk about, we know cycles, and we can talk about what's coming. And I think that is one of the astrological tools to infuse somebody with hope or with understanding about what is coming. And when those two things come together with this renewed sense of future or this understanding that maybe some of the worst is over, right? Sometimes we can see that astrologically. So I agree with you. I think that our discipline is very hopeful. I think it's very helpful in making meaning for people. And that's one of the big aspects of healing trauma also, is like when you grieve something, you are able to free up some energy and create new meaning going forward. And that in itself is empowering.
Yeah, so when you grieve, you kind of get rid or let go because and not that grieving stops with certain situations, but you're able to just move it and have that space to invite in something new or something wonderful. It's so wonderful.
Exactly. You're right that, we revisit grief over time. There is no magical, wand that will make it disappear. But if we can release some of the energy that is trapped in holding it, then we have more room for creativity, more room for exploration and expansion.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm going to carry that with me, and hopefully everyone who's watching this video will as well. And if you want to dig in more, you are teaching this at the OPA 2024 retreat, Awakening, celebrating the Aquarian shift. This is happening October 16th through 21st in Park City, Utah at New Park Resorts. It's going to be really fun, and your track is going to be one that people can sign up for.
Yeah, it's a 3-day track. So the first day we're going to have lectures for the whole community, and then we're going to break up into the 3-day tracks. And it's still early bird prices until August 1st, I think. So this is a good time to make that decision.
I know I have my share of people that have uh, come to me with trauma, and it is if you don't have anyone to tell you how to do it, and you're a practicing astrologer that has to go find out on your own, and there's so much information out there, and it's really nice, I think, to have someone lead you into this informational space so that we can do this better and evolve, which I believe your track is called evolutionary tools
For the awakened astrologer.
for the
Yes. So
awakened
the idea
astrologer.
is, how can you as an astrologer continue to sharpen your tools and acquire more skills to serve your clients better? Yeah, and I'm going to teach a couple other things too as part of this track. First part is the trauma healing map, and then there's two other parts. I'm very interested in helping astrologers serve clients who are different from themselves, right? So this is a kind of a diversity and belonging topic, but I like to start by having us look at our own lenses. We look at life through the lenses of who we've been and where we grew up. For example, I grew up in Mexico City. You grew up in the United States. We have a different lens through which we see life. And if we become more aware of our own lens, then we have more ability to listen with empathy to people who are different And that's where I think our astrological interpretation can really be fine-tuned because, we can have the astrology tools, but the interpretation only makes sense when we can match the lived experience of the client. And even if we don't know everything about it, for example, if a client comes to see me and they are from Korea, there's a lot of things I don't know about Korea, but if I listen a certain way, then I may be able to really connect the dots for them better, or
Yes.
enlist them in that conversation. So this is, a course in serving a more diverse pool of clients more effectively. And it'll cover all the identities, not just like our ethnic, racial, cultural, gender, sexual orientation, class background, all of these different lenses that we see through. And then the other part of my track has to do with what in psychotherapy we call the parallel process. So let me explain what that is. So in your life, there are things that have come up for you that you've had to heal, overcome, and you've had to develop. And it's common for your clients to reflect some of the same themes, right? I've heard this from many, many astrologers that their clients tend to reflect the themes that are alive for them in their own life. So, for example, I have a Sun Neptune conjunction. I also work as a shamanic practitioner, so I have some psychic skills. And a lot of people who have psychic experiences come to me for help and for understanding. And so the more I develop that in myself, the better I'm able to serve them. Or here's a different example. I had a really hard time with my father when I was growing up. He was the survivor of the Guatemalan Civil War. And then when I was in my 20s, I had the opportunity to work in a center that served survivors of torture from all over Latin America. And I had so many clients who were my dad's age who had been through military dictatorships and, had the scars to prove it. And by developing compassion for them as my clients, I was able to better understand my father, and at least improve my relationship with him or just have more empathy.
Mm.
So life will mirror for us some of the things that we're working on through our clients. And it's so interesting to look at our own charts and to think of our own lenses through which we see, and then relate that to our astrology practice so that we can have more awareness. Right. And maybe we can even see like, oh, there's this one piece that I haven't fully resolved. I should spend some time and energy on that because that'll allow me to serve my clients better. So that'll be the more interactive part of looking at our own charts. I will require complete confidentiality from the participants. We're going to build a really safe space because I know this is a vulnerable topic, but I am very interested in just really connecting it back to ourselves so that we can just be better astrologers and do more good and do no harm.
Oh, how wonderful. How wonderful. I'm looking forward. I joked with someone else I interviewed that maybe I'll be able to float around and take pictures for social media and hear some of these tracks, just little parts of them. They're also interesting. And it is a hard choice because
It
I
is a hard
love,
choice. Oh my God, yeah.
no matter which you choose, these retreats are so wonderful. I was able to come to Tucson, and it's such a wonderfully sized group.
It's more
I have
intimate.
Sometimes it is nice to do the retreat thing. And this is a more of a retreat situation. And it's going to be in beautiful Park City, which the aspen trees will turn golden. And I'm
Yes,
very
it'll be during the
excited.
fall colors. I am so looking forward to that. And I agree that it's not easy to choose because, myself, I would like to, there are some tracks that I'd like to take. And of course, I can't because I'll be teaching. But I think there is a synergy that builds. And there'll be lots of great conversations around, the meal tables and so on. So we hope that people will join us. And, I'm really, really excited to offer this to the OPA community, but this is the first time we get to offer it. So I hope that people will come and really take the tools and use them in their practice.
Especially in such a, polarizing time. I think trauma comes up a lot.
Mhm.
You know, we've had a lot of things happen. All of us, every single one of us, I think it's pretty safe to say had some trauma through the pandemic. So,
Exactly. Lots of losses and just a very confusing time. So I agree. I think we need all the tools we can get because here's the other thing that when you learn this, when you learn how to work with trauma survivors and you learn the symptoms of trauma, you are able to protect yourself from secondary trauma. You are able to better cope with all the stories that your clients bring to you, which can, feel full of grief and they can feel kind of heavy. But this is an additional coping strategy to protect yourself.
yes. Oh, yes. So wonderful.
Even though we're self-employed, we kind of, I like to call it, we practice the extreme sport of self-employment as astrologers. We deserve to have community. We deserve to have somebody to go to when we face a problem or a difficult question. So that's also what OPA tries to provide. And it's really fun to be part of this big effort.
It
So I hope
is.
people will join us. Yes.
Yes. So, yes, one more time, opaastrology.org. And I'm sure in the comments below, we'll have all of Magali's social media links and website links as well. Leave some comments and subscribe, please, to our channel. That would really be awesome. So, I guess Mandi Rae and Magali signing off. Opa, thanks you.
Thank you.